morning, everyone. My name is Soha Amber, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all to NEIU's International Business Conference for 2025. I'm the Vice President of the College of Business and Technology Student Advisory Council. Today, we are honored to invite thought leaders, innovators, and change makers to this annual conference to engage in thought-provoking discussions and exploring and navigating the supply chain industry with a focus on Asian perspectives. We encourage our students to seize this opportunity to network, exchange ideas, and expand their knowledge beyond the classroom. I would like to take a moment to thank our speakers, particularly our keynote speaker for today, Ms. Rosemary Coates, for graciously accepting our invitation to present today at IBC 2025. Some thanks are in order. I want to appreciate and acknowledge the people who have made today successful, who have made today happen. Starting off with our dean, who's not here today, Dr. Michael Bedell, and our faculty advisor, Dr. Tang Ku, Vladimir Fernandez, our staff advisor, the staff at the CBT Dean's Office, Jocelyn Rubeck. Can you please give a round of applause for her? President of the CBT Student Advisory Council, my team members, Jose Colon and Suzanne Polikoski in the CBT Student Advisory Council, and obviously all of our student leaders and volunteers today, in particular, Shalom, Rakesh, Siddhi, Venika, Khushi, Lafe, Mayur, Prajwal, Mary Cruz, and Divi. Once again, welcome to IBC 2025. We have an exciting day planned ahead. I would like to invite Dr. Chume Jane Sher, Associate Dean of the College of Business and Technology, to share opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. As you might have noticed, typically the dean will make the open remarks, but today he graciously let me to have the honor to do that. Someone will say, this is a great sign of trust. Others will say, maybe that's a test. No matter what, I'll try my best to make him not regret it. Okay, welcome to the International Business Conference hosted by the College of Business and Technology at Northeastern. And this conference, its mission is simple but powerful: to equip our students with knowledge and experience that make you successful in global business. And the legacy of this conference dates back in 2002, when one of our students, Lucas Dabrowski, started the vision to create a platform for connecting students and sharing ideas about global business. And this conference has continued to thrive with the great work of our faculty, students, and staff. With that being said, I would like to take this opportunity to give a huge shout out to our faculty advisor for this conference, Dr. Tang Chu, and our student development director, Mr. Vlad Flanders, and our student leader, Jocelyn Rubeck, along with all our student leaders in College Student Advisory Council. Thank you so much. It's your hard work makes this event possible. Again, if we look at the PowerPoint slide, it shows the conference theme, right? Changing global or Asian, especially Asian supply chain. This is a timely and critical aspect of global business. We are going to have an extensive and exciting program. Topics include, well, let me make sure I get everything right, reshoring strategies. Topics such as evolving trading policies, and topics like AI and supply chain. We are also going to cover how to become a super communicator. And also, we have great alumni join us to discuss all those topics. So it's exciting and it might be exhausting. Don't worry, we're going to have lots of coffee breaks. With that being said, it's my honor to introduce our interim provost and vice president of academic affairs, Dr. Shane Cover.
Good morning. As she said, my name is Shane Kofer. I'm interim provost and vice president for academic affairs. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to Northeastern and to the 23rd Annual International Business Conference. So I too would like to take a moment to thank and recognize our College of Business and Technology for hosting this event, as well as the planning committee, including students and faculty, for organizing this great conference. Let's give them a hand. Also, I'd like to thank in advance the industry leaders and guest speakers who are here to share their expertise with us today. Let's give them a hand. So as you know, the theme of the conference is navigating the Asian supply chain, opportunities and challenges. This is such an important and timely topic as we work to understand global business, particularly the role of Asian markets in today's economy. This topic also aligns nicely with the NEIU's commitment to fostering global perspectives in business education. So today I'd like to encourage all of our students to take full advantage of the networking opportunities that you have at this conference. There are many professional and industry leaders here among us, so don't be shy. The value of learning from experts who bring real-world experience cannot be underestimated. The insights shared today will help students and faculty better understand international business dynamics in a shifting environment. So we have an exciting agenda for you today, so please actively participate, ask many questions, and make the most of the opportunities that the conference provides. I hope you enjoy your day and welcome to Northeastern Illinois University. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Libman, and I am the president of the Investment Society at NEIU's College of Business and Technology. Thank you for all being here. It is my pleasure to introduce Nadirah Nazri, Director of the Malaysian Investment Development Authority in Chicago. With extensive experience in international business collaboration, she has spent years promoting Malaysia as a prime investment destination and building strong networks across the U.S. Midwest. She specializes in investment strategy, industrial policy, and digital innovation across various industries. Today, she'll be discussing how the Association of Southeast Asian Nations is strengthening supply chains through regional integration and digital advancements. Please join me in welcoming Nadirah Nazri.
All right, good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. Very nice meeting all of you here. I hope I can share something, on ASEAN and also how we basically be part of the supply chain, the global supply chain. So a little bit about ASEAN. All right. So I'm not sure whether you are familiar with ASEAN or not, but ASEAN, we have 10 countries. So basically Malaysia, we have Brunei, we have Indonesia, we have Singapore. So those are 10 countries under ASEAN. So ASEAN is a very big market for us. Basically, we are like around 680 million of people. We are the 5th largest economy, and it is very important basically because we have a lot of free trade agreements between ASEAN and also, like other countries to support the global supply chain. So like I said, ASEAN is the leading destination for FDI. In 2023, we have inflows of around 230 billion. It's like 0.3% of increase. And then there's a lot of factors in ASEAN. I would say that ASEAN is very important in the supply chain. Basically, we are like one of the strongest on our semiconductors industries. We are also a very strong partner for the US as well. So I would say we are a very important market in a lot of supply chain ecosystem in the world. So like I mentioned here, if you can see here, so the major factors underpinning the global FDI is, industries such as finance, renewable energy, like electrical, EV, and others. So in 2023, 80% of ASEAN FDI come from the top 10 investors, leading from China, from the US. Like the US doubled their FDI to 74 billion in finance and insurance sectors. And also definitely China, because they are like basically our, our very close partner as well. And 90% of intra-ASEAN investment was concentrated in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Vietnam. So I think if you're familiar, these are like one of the main countries which have a lot or strong collaborations with the US as well. So another one is we have what we call as ASEAN Economic Community. So why we have this regional integrated platform is because we want to make ASEAN as a single market and a production base. So we have a free flow of goods, services. For example, like if let's say goods within ASEAN, you will pay tax around maybe 0 to even 5%. So a lot of, because of the ASEAN and the free trade agreements that we have, it's eased a lot of flows of goods, services, the labors, and a lot of sharings of activities as well. So, okay. You can see the AEC blueprint aims to achieve a highly integrated and cohesive economy, a competitive and innovative and dynamic ASEAN to enhance the connectivity and sectoral cooperation, a resilient, inclusive, people-oriented and people-centered ASEAN, and a global ASEAN. For example, let me just show a case on semiconductor, like I mentioned earlier. ASEAN has been a significant semiconductor hub since the late of 1960s, which the world's largest semiconductors MNEs has presence in ASEAN. So for example, like 21 out of the 25 companies has invested in ASEAN, and then more of the half than MNEs that expanded in the period were from the United States. So we would say the semiconductor industry in ASEAN is characterized by the close-knit relationship between the diverse players in different segments. ASEAN is a very, I would say semiconductors is a very interesting market. And it is, I would say, is a very important market or a very important industry in the supply chain. So let me just share here's all the point here. As you can see here, why ASEAN is important, you can see there's a collaboration, for example, like the integrated device manufacturers. You can see that a lot of manufacturers are in the ASEAN countries, such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and others. Even like foundries, Malaysia and also Singapore, we have all these industries in semiconductors. So this shows how important ASEAN for this semiconductors industry. And then for ASEAN, basically the priority or the strategic trust that we have is we want to enhance the trade and investment. We want to create an inclusive and sustainable pathway to promote integration and connectivity of economies, to build a digitally resilient ASEAN. And just to share, actually this year, Malaysia will be the chairman for ASEAN. So we will take a role of ASEAN chairmanship. That is why I would like to, for example, if let's say you want to participate, you want to learn more, at least you can leverage on us now to learn, because we are the one who will be representing the ASEAN currently. And of course, when you mention digital, so you can see the ASEAN Digital Economic Framework. So this is basically important framework to strengthen the digital, the regional digital integration and inclusive growth and development for ASEAN. So basically, the positive climate impact of this is it could potentially create like 12 to 30 billion in social cost savings. And of course, it will also improve like the employment and social mobility, like digital adoptions. I think you are very aware that how digital is very important in our world currently. And of course, to improve the access and inclusivity and to improve the resilience as well. So here we have like 9 core of DEFA, which is involved the digital trade, the cross-border e-commerce, digital payments and e-invoicing, digital ID, and others. So yes, as you can see here, the key implications for FDI decisions in ASEAN. It is a regional market, if you want to look into ASEAN, of 600 million people. It's the 5th largest of economy in the world. Of course, it's an increasing business and investment efficiency through the zero, like I mentioned earlier, the 0 to 5 tariff, and a lower administrative and sourcing costs. So basically, if, for example, like you make Malaysia or you make Vietnam or you make Thailand as your hub, So you would just ease the process between ASEAN and the country surroundings. Just to share, other than ASEAN, basically, the ASEAN itself has free trade agreements with other countries as well. So that is why you can get a bigger market, which can go up until like maybe 2.2 billion of populations. So the market is actually pretty big when you basically, make ASEAN as a hub. Okay. And then let me just share about Malaysia. So Malaysia, I'm coming from Malaysia. We are a country, a small country. We have 13 states with 3 federal territories. So we are a federal constitutional elected monarchy, we're similar. We are very much following the British. We have 1 king and we have 9 other sultans. So every 5 years, we will change a new sultan or new king. So we are around 34 million of people with tropical climate, very hot there, not like here, very cold here. So we are very much into like land, forest, 55% of forest. So we are like the 66th largest country by total land area, around 127. So if I calculate, we are like maybe Illinois, maybe like half of Malaysia, but Texas is double than Malaysia. So we're not that, I would say we're pretty small. So majority population of Malaysia is around 57 of Malay. I'm a Malay. So we have 22% Chinese and we have like 13% of indigenous people and 6.6% of Indian. So in Malaysia, we are very diverse. Everyone in Malaysia, basically, we can speak more than one language. Like we can speak English. English is basically like we would say like English is our main working language, or even education we use a lot of English also. And of course, Islam is the official religion. So if you can see here, that's our tiger. This is our durian. We are very proud of our fruits. So if you come to Malaysia, I would really want you to try. A lot of people doesn't like it because the smell, but Malaysia, we love it a lot. And also, the orangutan. Yeah, so that's a little bit of Malaysia. And okay. So like I mentioned earlier, our major FDI sources, basically from the Europe, from Germany, from China, and our trade partners is the ASEAN, the US, the China, and we have like I mentioned earlier, free trade agreement. We have around 16 free trade agreements, which is a very strong connections with global market. We have a GDP growth in Q3 2024 around 5.3%, so it's a very healthy market, I would say. We have a currently GDP of USD 490 billion. And then last year, basically, we received the highest achievement of investment flow coming to Malaysia. Basically, I would say it's a very healthy market between the domestic and the FDI. So our domestic market are also doing pretty well last year, which shows that our local market can support the foreign market. So here are some of the companies that we have been working with. They've been in Malaysia for many, many years, and we try to bring more and more companies. We try to target, basically in Malaysia, we no longer target like on these labor-intensive products or labor-intensive projects. We're more into all this automation or, non-labor intensive. And here are some of our regional hubs. So you can also choose Malaysia as your regional hubs. And of course, in terms of the supply chain, global supply chains, why we are saying that we can be like a very strategic locations. We have a very interesting port, like Port Klang. We have Port Tanjung Pelepas, which work with international organizations and among the top 20 busiest port. We are also, like I mentioned earlier, we are gateway to ASEAN market, very, very, basically within market, like 8 hours of journey to big markets such as India, China, Japan, and South Korea. Of course, we are also very well developed in terms of infrastructure, the ports, the airports, the road networks, and others. So I want to touch a little bit about NSS, our Malaysian National Semiconductor Strategy. Semiconductor is, I would say, a very important market or important industry for us. So there's a lot of initiatives in this field, in this semiconductor field. So for example, like what involved under this NSS? So basically, we plan to attract around 500 billion of investments focusing on the IC design. We are very strong in terms of the back end of semiconductors. So we try to bring more on the front end of semiconductors like IC design, wafer fabrications, and others. So we try to, so we try to establish 10 Malaysian companies in design and advanced packaging with revenues between 1 billion and 4 billion. Of course, we want to develop Malaysia as a R&D center. We want to upskill our training and upskilling around 50,000 of high-skilled Malaysian engineers. We want to allocate at least 25 billion in support to be utilized on the targeted incentives. So if you can see, this is the global semiconductors value chain. So I would say Malaysia, we have all the integrated device manufacturers already been in Malaysia. So we try to bring more and more companies to, to support the ecosystem, like what I mentioned earlier. So it is a very interesting market. And again, like what I mentioned earlier, ASEAN itself has a lot of opportunities in these semiconductors industries as well. So to support the global supply chain, we also come up with our industrial master plan. Basically, our goal is to increase the economic complexity, to create a high value job, to extend domestic linkages, to develop new and existing clusters. For example, like we're already very strong in terms of semiconductors. We try to bring or try to focus more on advanced chemical or pharmaceutical, and to bring like for example more and more CDMO contract manufacturing in medical field or biotechnology in Malaysia. Of course, to improve the inclusivity and to enhance the ESG practices. So if you can see there, semiconductor is one of the promoted area, the specialty chemicals, aerospace, pharma, and medical device, and others. So we are a very business friendly. For example, like Malaysia, we are a very, if you do business in Malaysia, there's a, it's a freedom of repatriation of income. There's 100% of equity ownership, and a lot of initiatives will be given if people are considering Malaysia. And also, this is how we want to make sure that Malaysia is basically like part of the support for the supply chain in the world. So of course, our game plan is to, to position Malaysia as a hub for R&D, for high-tech industry and global services, and to transform our domestic investment landscape. So here are some of the niche industry, back to the semiconductors again. So we are the world's 6th largest exporter. We hold 77% of global market share. We contribute like around 23% of US semiconductor trade in 2022, and 6 out of 12 of the largest semiconductors companies are operating in Malaysia. So these are some of the, this is, I would like to say that how we are actually very strong in terms of supporting the ecosystem around us. And because of the semiconductors or the growth of semiconductors industry, actually we bring more and more companies, for example, like, or we develop other industries such as the medical device industries, the EV industries. So those are industries that are also growing because of the supply chain, or the, the ecosystem is currently strong in the Malaysia and also the ASEAN region. Of course, to support, we have what we call the recent announcement, Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone. So this is how we support the supply chain, meaning that we are not only working on Malaysia, but we are also working with our next door. If you know, Singapore is just 30 minutes from Malaysia. We are just in between. A lot of people doesn't know Malaysia, but we are just, Thailand is here, Malaysia is here, and Singapore is just, so we are very next to each other. So why we have this? Because we understand the importance of having collaboration to support the ecosystem and the companies that is growing between the Singapore and like the Malaysia area. So Johor is one of the state in Malaysia, like just next to Singapore. We do also provide some support for companies if they plan to have their, facility, or they want to have some partnership in Malaysia. So for example, in terms of business cases, so we work with Osram. Osram is one of the big German company, and Innovis is one of the US companies that also work and collaborate with Malaysian organization as well. And also, we have IFF, IFC, they provided a loan around 100 millions to help finance construction for the first phase of the Yonder Group. So we also want to say that if you want to support the industries, you have to also have support a good, strong engineering supporting industry. So we would like to say, we want to mention that we have a very strong supporting industry as well. So when you mention supply chain, it's not only like one particular industry. It has to support one industry, has to also support the other industry. That is why when you want to strengthen the industry, it has to also look into how you want to support other next industry. So yes. One of the I would say, very interesting company, Lam Research from the US. They have their facility in Malaysia, and they also bring their supply chain, their suppliers to be in Malaysia also. So basically, this is how when one company is growing and wanted to also bring and supporting the ecosystem near them. And this is also another company that we are supporting, like one of the largest distribution center in the Southeast Asia. Okay, so a little bit about my office. So I'm coming from MIDA. We are part of the Malaysian government. So I report directly with the embassy in DC, and we are the agency under the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry. So what we do is we help and facilitate company. We are the promotion agency, helping companies to do business in Malaysia. On the other hand, we also facilitate inquiries or needs from our Malaysian companies to explore opportunities in the US. So we have 20 global offices. So currently we only have 3. So I used to be based in Houston before. We used to have 6 before, but we closed our Houston office, we closed our LA office, and we closed our Boston office. So we only left New York, Chicago, which I'm here now, and also San Jose. So we have another 13 supporting offices in Malaysia. So we are the front line, and then we will also have our Malaysian state office to support the progress or the companies that we're bringing back to Malaysia. So our roles, I think, very, I would say very broad. Like we help to promote both FDI and DDI. We also provide approvals for licensing, incentives, custom duty exemptions. Like what I mentioned earlier, we have exemption for sales and duty tax. We also provide assistance on expatriate posts. We do facilitate companies if, let's say, they're already in Malaysia and they have some difficulties, concerns, problems. So we have like on track, they will be like a team to help to facilitate the projects. So we also facilitate the talent needs, local sourcing, adoption of industries, funding, and others. So how we help the companies, basically, as you can see here, we will help the company throughout their journey as long as they are in Malaysia. Starting from set up a company, to giving the incentive, connecting them with the right organization in Malaysia, connecting them with the local authorities, helping with the labor issues, helping with the, connection with social security and others, like utilities and all. Okay. So yeah, so this is in MIDA. Basically, we are the front one, the promotion part, the FDI. So, and then after us, we will help companies to connect with all these industries. So basically, we cover all industries. We cover like electric, electronics, machineries, oil and gas, and others. And then we will also help in terms of talents. We have what we call as IMFC. Basically, I would say companies are very pleased to have what we have here. Like we are the one who basically like a one-stop center helping them so that they don't have to go to other organizations. They can just come to us, and our services are free. So basically, they don't have to hire any other consultants. We will provide them. I mean, they can, but they can basically depend on us on a lot of connections and information. So I think with that, thank you so much. You can connect me with my LinkedIn. Thank you. So you have any questions or?
Hi, I'm Shalom Vineet. My first question is, do you at MIDA collaborate with other countries in getting investments, and what kind of projects are you focusing on if you're collaborating with other countries?
Yes. So basically, like I said, we have global offices in 20 countries. I mean, like 20 global offices, like we have in Europe, we have in China. So we do have a lot of countries collaboration. That is why we need the FDA. The reason why we need the foreign trade agreements is that is what we call as a regulators, where we will have a certain agreements which the country will agree to work together. So that is what we call as working together with the country. For example, like last year, so we have what we call as a third country business fund. So last year, we bring a group of Malaysian and Singapore company to the US, to the IMTS event. If you're aware about IMTS event in Chicago, one of the biggest event. So basically, we bring them to, we provide a fund, a grant to them, and then they can come to the US and be exposed to the event. So it is how we actually working closely with other countries.
One more question. So right now with US imposing tariffs on China, a lot of manufacturers are moving towards Vietnam, Asian countries like Indonesia, Malaysia. So what kind of industries are actually moving? What kind of industries, any particular sector which you are trying to focus on to attract investments? That's my first question. Yeah. go ahead,
Okay.
yeah.
So I would say that, for example, a lot of company moving, there are a lot in, I will go back to the semiconductor supply chain. What I deal basically more on the machining parts. Basically, okay, for example, if let's say what I deal before is, for example, this company, they are the supplier for Intel. For example, they are from the logistic department and they are like doing the logistic for Intel. So that's why they have to move to Malaysia, because they have to support Intel requests. And a lot of things happening. That's why, like, for example, like LUM, sometimes LUM will request their clients or their suppliers to be in Malaysia, to be next to them so that they can work closely, because it will, it will shorten a lot of like transaction costs, transportation costs and all sorts, like raw materials costs and all that. Yeah, there's a lot of requests actually from the big company itself, or the main, we call like the main company itself, to bring their suppliers in that specific country. In terms of industries, there's a lot of industry actually. For example, like I've been receiving, okay, you have to, for example, like medtech industries. There's in Chicago, basically, there's a lot of medical technology industries. So there's a lot of companies are also looking into either bringing the factory from China to like the ASEAN countries, or they will do reshoring, which is here in the US, or nearshoring to companies near to the US also. So it depends on the company layout. Sometimes they are companies who, because of, for example, like what happened last year, because there's so many uncertainty. Because of the uncertainty, company has to make decision. Though they've been talking to us, but because they have to make the decision faster, to be in the US or to be near the US is like the best decision for them. But of course, if you're talking about company who are already in China, yes, there are a lot of discussion of them moving out, or they will maintain the operation there in China just to cover the market in China, or they do a twinning factory in other countries, Southeast Asian countries, just to cover the market in the Southeast Asian or the, like the middle countries. Yeah.
Last question from my end. What are the challenges you face in attracting investments towards Malaysia? The challenges are very different for different countries. Specific with Malaysia, what are the challenges you face?
Okay, so I would say that I think it's very interesting. That's why I've been receiving this kind of questions, challenging, but I feel that maybe I've been doing this for a while. It's not really like, I didn't call it as a challenge, but it's kind of like very interesting to learn where the company plan to go. How do they basically learning, or deciding. So basically, there's a lot of factors. For example, it depends on the offer as well. So for example, like we will come up with our offer to company also. And other country will also come up with their offers. Sometimes we might lose because of we don't have the capital or the grants to give to companies, for example, or like tax credits to give to company. So maybe because of that, the company will go to, for example, India, because India can give a lot of credits or tax credits. I think you're very aware of that. Something like that, or maybe land. Some companies, some country will offer maybe land. So it depends back on the, the offerings. But of course, other than that, the uncertainty is also the crisis between China and US somehow last year gives a lot of benefit to us. However, because of the new announcement and all that, a lot of companies are currently like in the wait and see mode. So, they don't really, we have a conversation, but they don't really doesn't want to make a decision. Yeah, something like that.
I have one more question. So with Malaysia as a small country, but then is very green, and with more manufacturing sectors moving and a lot of manufacturing factories moving towards Malaysia, how is it going to affect the environment? You are always you have been carbon negative. So is that a challenge you are considering, the government is considering?
Yes.
Are you restricting any industries, or are you strategically focusing on certain industries from any environment perspective?
Yes. So that is why every project that come to Malaysia, okay, every project that come to Malaysia, they have to go through what we call is as an investment committee of approval, the ICA team. So ICA team basically held it in MIDA itself. So it will be chaired by the two ministry, which is Ministry of Finance and MITI, Ministry of Investment Trade Industry. In that MITI is basically MIDA officer will be the one representing the company. They will be defending the company. So whenever company come up with their projects, they have to also come up with the spillover to the country. So we will ask the company to come up with, okay, what would be the benefit to our country. Also, like I said, if you can refer here earlier, can you see the DOE? Yeah, the Department of Environment. So in that meeting, basically, we have our national bank, we have our IRB, we have relevant ministries to be in that meeting, even the Ministry of Environment and all that. So before the meeting, they will go through all the projects and see the effect of the projects to the country. So that is why, like, we are the promotion body, like the marketing people, but the one in that meeting is the one who are, like, they have to basically the one who will defend the country. So, but it's a very interesting. The company has to justify why you want to be in Malaysia, why you want to have your project in Malaysia. Yeah.
And earlier in your slides, you just discussed about the DEFA, the Digital Economic Framework Agreement. And like while framing that, I mean, there will be a lot of challenges amongst the countries which are a part of ASEAN. Can you tell us about the challenges for that?
Okay, for example, maybe I would touch on the data centers currently. Okay, so what happened was last time, I think I was from the data center division as well. So I was taking care of companies like Amazon, Microsoft, even, some other as well. I can say that because they're already in Malaysia. So I cannot speak with companies that we are discussing currently. So basically, what happened that time, because in Singapore, there's a lot of tons of data centers company going inflow to Singapore. So they do a moratorium. So when they do a moratorium, basically the companies, they go to other country than Singapore because they cannot be in Singapore anymore. So now the company look at Malaysia, and we have a lot of data center coming to Malaysia now. And to tell you, though it's very important to have data centers, because data centers is the one who will drive, because they are the storage part, right? Yeah. And of course, because of the growing of EV, growing of a lot of, Malaysia is also very big on gaming industry. So we are very big in terms of, we have a lot of IT people, good IT people as well. So that is why, like, IT in Malaysia is very strong. So because of that, currently we are also starting slowly to, limiting or controlling, a lot of companies in certain areas. Yeah, like we're not, when we promote the companies, of course, we want to give a lot of incentive benefits. But whenever we feel that, okay, the industries is already strong, grow, so we try to limit the industries and then try to bring, focus on other industry. For example, now we try to bring, for example, like quantum computing is very strong here now, right? So we also just launched like a quantum computing in Malaysia as well. Yeah.
So now you're competing with China. Do you see China as a competitor? I know the scale is very different, but do you see yourself competing with China for the coming projects? Because you're literally getting $74 billion is what you got last year, right? From USA, and only 17 from China. So how do you see China? Not in terms of numbers, but then in terms of emotions or the way you say it. Yeah.
Well, in Malaysia, we are not really competing with, we position our country as a non-bias. We work with both the US, both China, and also other countries. We never really limiting our collaborations or our connections with other countries. So we are actually very open in terms of, we're not really like, putting ourselves like, how do I say it? Like fighting or, yeah, because we are very promotional. So we are more, because we're a small country, we want to bring more inflows of investment to come to Malaysia. Yeah. Okay. You have a question? Yes?
There are arguments against ASEAN. What are they and why? Why would there be arguments against it? Maybe there are none.
I have not received like specific arguments when you mentioned arguments on ASEAN, because I would say ASEAN is a very important market now. That's why a lot of people are looking into having at least one position in the ASEAN market. I would say that ASEAN has a very big market, and they are basically like a very we position ourselves as a very important supply chain market for a lot of industries. That is why, for example, like even China, they are actually having a very good relationship with ASEAN, even from the US perspective, for example, like Vietnam. So they have a very strong relationship with the ASEAN. So that's why, as for now, I have not received any specific, how do I say, like maybe some, like what you were saying earlier, but I would say in terms of they are dependency on, and there's a lot of surplus actually relationship between trading between our countries and the ASEAN also. So I would say that we position ourselves like a stronger market in comparison like to other market.
Hi,
Hello.
my name's Suzanne, and I'd like to know how will ALSEN economic community help businesses navigate the supply chain disruptions and that are caused by the global, trade tensions right now?
Sorry again, the what?
So how will it help businesses navigate the supply chain disruptions caused by the global tensions, trade tensions?
Okay, when you mentioned the global trade tensions, is it because of the tariff or is it because of what kind of global?
Just in general. So ASEAN, they help businesses. So how would they help businesses with the disruptions and in the supply chain?
Okay, that's why I'm saying. For example, I cannot speak on other countries. Okay, but let me just go back to, for example, like Malaysia. How we help companies basically to grow in Malaysia by providing all these, facilities, assistance, because we want to make sure that we can be part of company growth. Actually, similar to other countries also, like Indonesia. Like, for example, if talking about agriculture, Indonesia is a very big market, a very strong partner for the US in terms of soybeans, because they buy a lot of soybeans from the Midwest area. So I would say that in terms of helping to grow the disruption, that is why we work closely with companies to, like, we will come to them, we will ask them, okay, how do we help you to grow your businesses? For example, in Malaysia, we'll come to you and then providing some sort of assistance to the company. So normally we will ask them, okay, let's say, for example, company A, you are looking into certain countries in Southeast Asia, for example. So how do we actually help you to grow? So that is basically our position. Like we normally go to the company and then we'll ask them how we help them. Because when, okay, for example, when you mention disruption, it depends on industries. As for now, industries is growing, even the semiconductors, though the industry is strong, but there's still a lot of areas that you can, you can develop. So that is why you will go to company and ask them, can you do this kind of projects, this kind of industries, or do some collaboration? For example, like international companies, can you work with our local companies? Sometimes our local companies has certain capabilities that they cannot develop, but they need these international collaborations, and they can come up with something new. So that in our position, that's how we basically help companies. And I'm pretty sure like our counterpart like from Indonesia or Vietnam, they will do like similar things, because even like Vietnam, they have an MOU with the US also in certain areas. And again, we are talking about ASEAN. ASEAN is a very interesting market, and I would say that companies doesn't want to even miss opportunities to be present in ASEAN.
Just final question, I guess.
Okay.
Even though right now semiconductors are considered as one of the biggest strengths for any country, given the current scenarios of the present days, and now we know that like Taiwan and South Korea, South Korea, yeah, they are very strong in this. And how is the NSS strategy by the Malaysia? How is it taking steps to compete with it? And what are the line down the 5 years? Like, will it overcome or will it match the level where Taiwan is right now?
Yes, Taiwan is actually very strong in semiconductors. And to tell you, actually, Taiwan invests a lot in Malaysia also. So in terms of industry, we don't say like even Malaysia and Singapore, we never really competing. That is why in this global industry, we are more on like supporting and completing each other's supply chain. We are more on the supporting side. We have a lot of Taiwanese companies are actually looking into Malaysia also. So that is not, we are not really like, we are competing. In a way, yes, but most of the time, Taiwan has certain strength that maybe Malaysia doesn't have. So that's why we also need the company to be in Malaysia, like I said, to be closer to their company. Because when you talk about supply chain, you want to complete certain ecosystem. Certain ecosystem, you want to make sure that they are closer to each other. Because if they can be far, but you will add cost, you will add a lot of labor in between, that is why you want to develop certain supply chain, because you want to make sure that you can strengthen certain industries in certain areas. All right. Okay. Any more questions? All right. Thank you so much for having me.